Did you know Queen Elizabeth II owned jewels believed to be cursed? Behind the sparkle of diamonds and tiaras were legends of conquest, exile, and misfortune. From a diamond said to doom any man who wears it, to gems smuggled from the ruins of empires, some treasures carried shadows. Today, we reveal the 13 most mysterious and cursed jewels in her collection. Number 13. The Koh-i-Noor Diamond. Did you know the Koh-i-Noor is said to be the most cursed diamond in history? For centuries, this massive gem passed from emperor to conqueror, each new owner often meeting a violent end. From the Persian ruler Nadir Shah, assassinated in bloody chaos after claiming it, to Sikh kings dethroned, and Afghan rulers driven into exile, the diamond carried misfortune like a shadow. When Britain took it during colonial rule in India, whispers of its curse spread quickly. Legend said any man who wore it would lose power, even his throne. Perhaps that is why it has only ever been mounted in crowns for queens and consorts. Queen Elizabeth II inherited the stone in the Queen Mother's crown, but she never wore it herself. And when King Charles III was crowned, he chose not to use it, whether out of diplomacy or to avoid tempting the curse. Number 12. The Black Prince's Ruby. Glittering red at the center of the imperial state crown, the Black Prince's Ruby is not a ruby at all, but a giant spinel. Its history is drenched in blood. In 1367, it was gifted to England's Black Prince by the Spanish King Pedro, after being stolen from a Moorish ruler who was murdered in battle. Ever since, it has been tied to conflict. King Henry V wore it at the Battle of Agincourt, where he was nearly killed. Centuries later, King Richard III carried it into Bosworth Field, the battle where he lost his crown and his life. Though it survived every war, the stone seemed to trail violence behind it. Queen Elizabeth II wore it as part of the crown at state openings, but some believe its curse still lingers. Number 11. The Timur Ruby. The Timur Ruby, despite its name, is no ruby at all. It's another blood-red spinel, carved with the names of Mughal emperors and conquerors who once owned it. Each inscription is like a warning, marking rulers whose empires fell or whose reigns ended in blood. The stone traveled through India and Persia, seized in battles and looted from palaces, always passing from one doomed dynasty to another. When the British acquired it in the 19th century, it became part of the crown jewels. Yet, Queen Elizabeth II never wore it publicly, perhaps sensing its troubled past. A gem so large, so brilliant, yet tied to collapse and betrayal, it remains more a relic of conquest than a jewel of celebration. Its curse lies not in myth, but in history itself. But if this blood-red stone carried the downfall of empires, another glimmered with a quieter curse. Number 10. The Kent Amethyst Parure. Not every jewel in the Queen's vault was marked by conquest. Some whispered of sorrow, loss, and the weight of grief. The Kent Amethyst gleamed in deep violet, grand enough to fill an entire parure, necklace, earrings, brooches, and side combs. Yet its brilliance was overshadowed by its meaning. For centuries, such gems were tied to mourning, funerals, and solemn remembrance. When Queen Elizabeth inherited them, expectations were high, but she wore them only sparingly, almost reluctantly, as if their very color carried bad luck. Number 9. The Cambridge Emeralds. If purple stones carried the weight of mourning, green brought whispers of luck gone wrong. The Cambridge Emeralds didn't enter the royal vault through war or coronation, but through something far stranger, a family lottery. In the early 1800s, the Duchess of Cambridge's mother won them in a German raffle, an odd fate for jewels of such grandeur. Queen Mary adored their size and built an entire set of jewelries around them. Queen Elizabeth wore them rarely, though Princess Diana later revived one of the necklaces, turning its strange legacy into glamour. Jewels won by chance, after all, can change fortune just as easily the other way. Number 8. The Prince Albert Sapphire Brooch. If the Cambridge Emeralds carried the oddity of chance, this next jewel carried the sorrow of everlasting love. The Prince Albert Sapphire Brooch glows with a deep blue fire, a wedding gift from Prince Albert to Queen Victoria in 1840. She wore it on her wedding day, and for decades afterward, even after his death. When Queen Elizabeth II inherited it, she too favored it for solemn state occasions. To many, it symbolized continuity, yet its beauty was tied to mourning. Every queen who wore it seemed to carry a trace of Victoria's grief, a love too powerful to fade. In the royal vault, it may glitter with loyalty, but its story remains one of devotion shadowed by loss, a jewel forever touched by heartbreak. But if that sapphire told a story of love and loss, the next stones would bear something far heavier, the weight of empire itself. Number 7. Cullinan 3 and 4 Granny's Chips. From the world's largest diamond, the Cullinan, came 9 fragments, each with its own fate. Among them are Cullinan 3 and 4, 2 dazzling stones Queen Elizabeth affectionately called Granny's Chips. She often wore them together as a brooch, their brilliance unmatched. Yet their origin was steeped in violence. Torn from South Africa's mines under colonial rule, the Cullinan was once rumored to be too big, too unnatural, almost cursed. Splitting it into pieces was said to tempt fate, dividing a gem that should never have been touched. Though Queen Elizabeth wore them with pride, whispers of unrest always followed. Could jewels born of upheaval ever shine without shadows? Number 6. Cullinan 2, the second star of Africa. If Cullinan 3 and 4 carried whispers of fate, Cullinan 2 bore the weight of a throne. Known as the second star of Africa, this 317-carat diamond sits in the front of the imperial state crown, which Queen Elizabeth wore each year to open Parliament. Its brilliance was unmatched, but its backstory was stained by conflict. The Cullinan was discovered in South Africa in 1905 and handed to King Edward VII as a political gesture during the height of colonial unrest. To some, the stone was a symbol of loyalty. To others, a reminder of exploitation and stolen wealth. While Queen Elizabeth wore it in her duties, she never spoke of its past. Like so many of her crown jewels, it glittered with majesty, but carried the shadow of empire. Number 5. Queen Victoria's Oriental Circlet Tiara. Among Queen Elizabeth's inherited treasures was a tiara once set with opals, a stone long rumored to bring misfortune. In the 19th century, when Queen Victoria wore the Oriental Circlet with fiery Australian opals, tragedy struck her family. Her beloved Prince Albert died soon after, and superstition quickly linked the gem to sorrow. Though opals were prized for their shifting colors, Victorians called them unlucky, a belief that clung for decades. When the tiara passed through the royal line, Queen Alexandra had the opals replaced with rubies, trying to banish the bad omen. Queen Elizabeth inherited it in its ruby form, but the legend of its cursed beginnings never faded. But grief wasn't only tied to opals. Some jewels carried the downfall of entire dynasties. Number 4. Empress Maria Feodorovna's Sapphire Choker. Queen Elizabeth II inherited not just crowns and tiaras, but stories, whispers of empires that rose and fell before her time. Not every one of the most haunting pieces in Queen Elizabeth's vault once belonged to Empress Maria Feodorovna of Russia, mother of the last Tsar. It was a grand sapphire and pearl choker, but when the Russian Revolution erupted, the Empress fled with only a handful of jewels, this choker among them. It survived smuggling, exile, and the fall of a dynasty, only to be acquired later by Queen Mary. Queen Elizabeth II never favored chokers and very rarely wear it, but her daughter, Princess Anne, embraced its dramatic style. She wore it on major occasions, giving new life to a jewel born from tragedy, a relic of imperial twilight that still carries the echoes of a fallen empire. Number 3. The Vladimir Tiara. Few jewels in Queen Elizabeth's vault carried a tale as dramatic as the Vladimir Tiara. Originally owned by Grand Duchess Maria Pavlovna of Russia, it was smuggled out during the Revolution, hidden in a secret compartment, escaping the chaos that claimed the Romanovs. By the time Queen Mary acquired it, the tiara already carried the ghost of a fallen empire. Its design was striking, diamond loops that could be worn with pearls or with Cambridge emeralds. Queen Elizabeth often wore it, even at state banquets, yet its past was impossible to ignore. Every time it appeared, it bore the memory of escape, exile, and survival against the odds. Beautiful and versatile, yes, but forever haunted by the revolution that nearly consumed it. A jewel sparkling with life, yet shadowed by loss. Number 2. The Strathmore Rose Tiara. Delicate and romantic, the Strathmore Rose Tiara was given to the Queen Mother in the 1920s as a wedding gift from her father, the Earl of Strathmore. Unlike many towering royal diadems, it was light, floral, and could even be worn across the forehead in the style of the Jazz Age. Yet, despite its charm, Queen Elizabeth II never wore it. Its fragile construction made it difficult to repair and too risky for public events. Over time, whispers grew that it was unlucky, a jewel admired yet left in the shadows. Its long absence only deepened its mystery until Princess Catherine revived it, wearing it on formal occasions and giving new life to a piece once silenced by superstition. Number 1. The Stuart Sapphire. Set into the imperial state crown, the Stuart Sapphire gleams with an otherworldly blue. Yet, behind its beauty lies a story of exile and betrayal. Once owned by the Stuarts, King Charles II and his brother King James II and VII, The sapphire left England when James fled into exile after the Glorious Revolution of 1688. It later passed through the hands of his descendants in France and Italy before returning to Britain in the 19th century. When the stone finally returned to Britain, it was placed in the crown worn by Queen Elizabeth II, a constant reminder of royal fragility. Unlike other diamonds and rubies, the Stuart carried no triumph, only the memory of kings who lost everything. To many, its curse was simple. It glittered brightest at the very moment thrones collapsed. 13 jewels, each glittering with beauty but shadowed by legend. Some carried the downfall of kings, others the sorrow of empires, and a few were simply too unlucky to ever see the light again. For Queen Elizabeth II, elegance was never just sparkle. It was the choice of which stories to carry and which curses to quietly set aside. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and watch the next video on your screen.